Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It's Josh Goldstein, your favorite immigration lawyer, coming at you. I've got my iced tea and I'm ready to answer your immigration questions. But first, I'd like to take a moment to talk about an issue that a lot of people are asking me about. It's an issue that's it's really disturbing, the events in Israel and Palestine, and people have really strong opinions about what's going on. And I want to talk to you just for a moment briefly about what this could do to your immigration case. I was asked a question by someone from Iran, and he asked me, his name is Amir Hussein Musavi, and he asked whether the conflict between Israel and Hamas or in Palestine, whether that would have an impact on his ability to get a visa through a writ of mandamus. So that's what I'm going to start off with talking about today, and I'll be sure to answer all your questions, or try to. Um, so when it comes to getting a visa, when you go to your interview, you should be able to get your visa issued at the end of your interview if you've done everything right. But what happens is that it doesn't work out that way. People go to their interviews, and instead of getting the visa that they deserve, they're told they have to wait and wait and wait. And they're put in something called administrative processing. Administrative processing is what I think of as lack of processing. So I want to welcome everyone today. And we'll start off talking about the events in Israel and Palestine and how that might affect immigration. So unfortunately, what happens is politics gets in the way of immigration. The government in the United States and the government in Iran, they're not friends. I know this is shocking, but it's true. There's a long history to that. I won't get into that, but let's just say that there's animosity between these two governments. So what happens is ordinary individual people that have nothing to do with politics, have nothing to do with the government in Iran, nothing to do with the government in the United States, they have to sit and wait because they are profiled and targeted. And that's not right. It's not fair. One of the most basic concepts in the United States is that we have equality under the law. Whether you're a vegetarian or you're from Texas or you are from this religion or that religion or no religion, you're supposed to be treated equally under the law. And that doesn't always happen. And so what happens is people have to wait and wait and wait. And so what we do to help them is that we go to court and we sue the government. We say, listen, this isn't right. This isn't fair. You can't do that. And once we do that, we get these cases unlocked and resolved. So the question that came to us was whether or not the events in Israel and Palestine would impact Iranians seeking visas, perhaps through a writ of mandamus. Well, to start off with, I would say that we live in uncertain times. We don't know what will happen in the future. That's obvious. We don't know. I've seen many countries that, for one reason or another, have suddenly had their consulates closed. Let me give you an example. In 2019 and early 2020, I represented tons of Afghans who had visas that were delayed. Many of them were people that had worked for the U.S. military in Afghanistan, putting their lives and their families' lives at risk. I had so much respect for people like this, and I wanted to help them all. And what happened is that the consulate suddenly shut down, and they burned and destroyed all of the, I think they did, destroyed all of the documents that were in the consulate because the Taliban took over. Now, who could have predicted the Taliban would suddenly take over? Who could have predicted the sudden closure of the U.S. consulate in Kabul? Who could have predicted the closure of the U.S. Consulate in Baghdad or in Port-au-Prince? All of these things happen, and there is a lot of fear that Iran could be embroiled in a military conflict between Israel and the United States. I'm no expert on these things. I just read the news like everyone else. But what I think about is how these events might impact immigration. And I think there has never been a better time to get your visa and get yourself sorted out. Time is not on your side. Delay is not working in your favor. If you're like, well, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait and see what happens. I'm just going to give it another month. I'm going to give it another week. I'm going to just take action in January. All of these things. The thing that I say on my content and my channel that I want everyone to understand is that waiting leads to more waiting. That's it. Waiting leads to more waiting. There's very few immigration problems that are solved by waiting. Most problems are solved by taking action. And if you're waiting around hoping that you're going to get a solution, you're probably not. So the short answer is I don't know what will happen. I don't know whether Iran will be embroiled in a political military conflict. Is it going to get easier to get a visa to the United States from Iran in the future? I don't think so. I would like to live in a world where the governments, the people in Israel and Palestine and Iran could all be allies and friends. And I hope that I live to see that, or my children do. I think it's totally possible. It may be very naive, sound foolish for me to think, well, how can the Israelis and the Palestinians be allies and friends? But I mean, look at what happened in World War II with the Nazis, and the Germans are allies with the Jewish state of Israel, and they're allies. So I believe that people can get along and become friends eventually. I hope so. I hope I live to see that. But in the meantime, if you're trying to get a visa and you're thinking, oh, well, should I take action now or should I wait? Just do it. That's what you should do. We live in uncertain times. Fortune favors the brave. And if you're waiting around for your visa to be approved, hoping that they're going to get to you at some point, hoping that you have to wait 90 days or 180 days or 1 year or 2 years, you need to take action. I like Zifru. I think we, the people from all walks of life, can live together in peace and harmony. But what divides us is politicians. Lots of things divide us in addition to politicians: religion, politics. Yeah, there's lots of things. So I'm going to take questions that you have, and I'm excited about that. I have a Facebook user who says, I just want to know, is lawsuits working for F4 applicants? I think F4 applicants have a number of problems. One is you have to wait a really long time to get these visas. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And I call it the F4, the retirement visa. F4 is when your brother or sister is a U.S. citizen and files a petition for you. The mistake that I see in my practice is that people don't file the petition because they're like, it's going to take too long. I'm not going to bother filing that. But life goes on, and you need to file this case. You need to file it. But it is going to take a long time. And what happens is that the derivative beneficiaries, the children of the F4 beneficiaries, age out. And I think that's what you're talking about, Facebook user, that people age out. So I don't think a lawsuit could work for F4, but it could not prevent a child from aging out. What you can do if the child ages out is come up with a new strategy. Get your visa and then file a petition for your son or daughter. I know it seems like a long road, but that's what you should do. I don't think that we can do anything. Here's a question on TikTok from Moso Jaquel. Can I apply for asylum if I'm part of the LGBT community? I've been here since I was 4 years old from Mexico. You can file for asylum if you can show that you have a well-founded fear of persecution in your home country based on your race, your religion, your national origin, your political opinion, or some other characteristic, your membership in a particular social group. And a lot of people file for asylum based on the fact that they are gay or lesbians and they can't go back to their home country because homosexuality is discriminated against. So that's something that is typically a basis for asylum. Yeah. One of the rules for asylum is that you have to apply for asylum within 1 year of arriving in the US. And there are some exceptions to this, but I want everyone to keep that in mind. If you're thinking about asylum, the first question I'm going to ask is, when did you arrive in the US and how long have you been here? Because if it's been more than 1 year, that's going to change the way it works. It's going to make it harder. Um, what other questions do you have? I'm gonna scroll through and take some questions from. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. We have a Facebook group with, I think, 15,000 members that is dedicated to talking about issues related to visa delays, administrative processing, and so on. And I'm just wondering, I'm coming to you today from Los Angeles. I'm in downtown Los Angeles, and I want to know where you're from. Put it in the comments below. I'd love to hear where you're from. What country, what city? Tell me where you are in the comments below. And then I'll get to some more questions after I have a little more iced tea. All right. Shafqat Rasul, welcome back. Our friend from YouTube who joined us last week as well. He or she says, how much timeline for a spousal visa? How much percentage for approved spousal visa? Well, let's take the first question. How long is it going to take to get a spousal visa? So spousal visa, in my mind, is when a couple is married and one of the spouses is a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, or maybe has asylum or refugee status, and files a visa petition with USCIS for their spouse. And their spouse is waiting in a foreign country. And the question is, how long will that process take? And my answer is that it will take, well, it takes as long as it takes, but I think that it would probably take six to 9 months to get the visa petition approved. It's going to take another 6 months to get through the National Visa Center, and then another 6 months, roughly, to get your visa interview and a decision. So I think at top speed, you're looking at about 1.5 years. Now, that's just sort of a back of the envelope ballpark figure for how long it would take. But I hope that helps. I know it's discouraging how long things take. It's unfair. But nevertheless, don't get discouraged. File it. You know what I mean? Time goes on and you need to file the case. So that's what I would tell you. Let's see here. All right. So the other question that Shafiq had was how much percentage for approved spousal visa? I'm not sure I understand that question, but let me try to interpret it. I think what that question means is, if you meet all the requirements for a spousal visa, what is the likelihood that you're going to be successful? And the answer, I think, is 100%. I think you're going to get approved if you do that. So here's a question on TikTok from Ruth Juarez. What happens to immigration for fingerprints for my I-360? What happens next? So very good. So when you do your fingerprints, they take a picture of you, they take your fingerprints, and they conduct a background check, and they research you, and they see if you have any criminal history. They look at your immigration history, your marital history. They put you through all of their elaborate databases to see if they can find out more information about you. And then they review your case and make a decision about that. So it's an important step in the adjudication process. Sifu on Instagram from Dubai, UAE. I send you love and respect. I also send you love and respect as well. It's great to have you with me. Sabine, we have someone asking a question. Here's one. Is the US or Canada better for asylum seekers? I don't know the answer. I don't know anything about Canadian asylum process, so I can't compare the two systems. I don't know anything about it. I'm sorry. They need to privatize USCIS. Yeah. Let's take some more questions. Post your questions. How am I doing? I'm doing okay. I'm looking forward to the holiday week next week to be with my family. And my son's going to go to a rock climbing class, which I'm super excited about taking him to. We're going to be staying local, not traveling. Let's see. What are some other questions that you have? We have another more question. I'll take a few questions that were sent to me. Here's one from Montader Hader. Asks, I had my interview in Ankara at the U.S. consulate on the 11th of August. The immigration officer informed me that I needed to undergo administrative process. He handed me a piece of paper. The color is blue, but others have been receiving yellow, white, or green papers. What does the color impact administrative processing? I've answered this question many times, and the answer is the color is irrelevant. It's totally random. It doesn't make any difference. As far as I know, there's no significance to the color of the piece of paper. This was told to me by a consular officer who worked for the State Department for many years. So I don't think it matters. Here's a question from YouTube. VIP English RG. Thank you for tuning in. How long are your I-601 cases taking? Well, that's a simple question with a difficult answer. The answer is they're taking forever. They're taking longer than they should. They're taking an unpredictably long amount of time. How long? No one can say. My guess right now is an I-601 would take several years, 2-3 years. We file lawsuits against USCIS to challenge processing delays, and I would say you'd have to wait probably 2 years before you could file such a lawsuit. The basis of a lawsuit is there's been an unreasonable delay, 19 months now. Yeah, I mean, I think we could do a lawsuit for years. We've had a lot of success with these lawsuits for I-601s. I mean, if something's been stuck for 2 years, what are they going to say? They're obviously not working on it. They're not doing anything. So there's that. Let's see. How fast are they issuing asylum interviews and work authorization? So you're eligible for work authorization after you apply for asylum within 6 months of when you apply. So you can get that. But actually getting an interview for your asylum case is going to take you, excuse me, it's going to take you a really long time. Sort of like what I just said with the I-601. It's going to take years. When I first started my immigration practice many years ago, so long ago that I would be embarrassed to admit how long I've been doing this. When I first started immigration, you could get an asylum interview within a year. No problem. Now, an interview for asylum is going to take several years. It's really painful. I don't know what to say. But should you not apply for asylum because it takes a long time? No, you should file it. But just be prepared. It's going to take a long time to get this thing sorted out. Don't get discouraged. Let's see here. Lover of Benjamins. Is it true that I have to wait for 3 months before your 3-month mark for the visa applying for a green card? No, I don't think that sounds right. I don't really know. Just filed for divorce. This is from what would the L wear? What would the L wear? A friend of ours on TikTok. Just filed for divorce. Attorney says to wait for decree. But don't we need to notify the I-751? Yes, you should notify USCIS that you're going through the divorce process. I think that's a good idea. Because if you don't notify USCIS that you've gotten a divorce, then they still think that you're married and they may be investigating you. And they could think that you're lying about your relationship when really you're getting a divorce. So I would write a letter to them, tell them you're getting a divorce, and then soon you'll have your divorce decree. What other questions do you have? What's on your mind? I'll go back to a few of the other questions that were sent to me. Here's one. My son has an approved petition, but the petitioner passed away. What should I do? And this is from Lorna Capacillo. All right. In an immigration case, if the visa petitioner dies while the case is pending, there is a way to reinstate the petition under 204L on a humanitarian basis. But if the beneficiary is outside the US at the time of death, the case is over. So it's really, oftentimes the information is really heartbreaking. Someone loses their father or a close family member, and not only do they lose their loved one, but they also lose their immigration opportunity. And that's why you want to explore all your options. And what I would ask if Lorna was here, I would say, well, what's your immigration status? Are you a citizen or permanent resident? Could we file a new petition from you? Here we have a question from Steven Stanek. USCIS is estimating 21.5 months for 80% of I-601 waivers. Are you saying the other 20% would take up to 2 years? Their 21.51 estimate is assuming RFEs and other mistakes. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I do not believe that USCIS processing times on their website, I don't believe in them. I think they're fictitious. I think they're bullshit. I don't think they mean anything. And, you know, I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's accurate or not. I don't think you could put much stake in it. I think the best you can do is know that it's going to take several years. But I don't think you can say, oh, well, I'm expecting a decision within 2 years because USCIS website says that. I'm sorry to give you that answer. I know it's kind of a bummer, but that's true, in my opinion. I saw that, let's see here, Brazen Lawyer joined us on Instagram. I love your content. You're a social media superstar. It's very inspiring what you're doing. I only wish I spoke Haitian Creole, but I have enough trouble with English. Let's see. Mars Esquel Bravo. Why immigration takes so long to approve or decline U.S. citizenship paperwork? My boss, Swedish married U.S. lady, they have a child together. They live in Florida. So let's talk about the processing times for naturalization. So there's something really cool when it comes to naturalization, and that is there's a specific law, 8 USC 1447B. I love that law. It's one of my favorite immigration laws. I have a lot of least favorite immigration laws, and this is one of my all-time favorites. So if you have a naturalization interview and 120 days have passed, you can file a lawsuit and ask a judge to make a decision on your naturalization application. So all you need to do is complete the naturalization interview, wait 120 days. You can sue them and get it sorted out. That's what you can do. So that's amazing. Now, what USCIS will do, because they're tricky, is they know that if they give you the interview, they're going to have to give you a decision. So what they'll do is that they won't conduct the interview. So if a long period of time goes by without the interview, well, you can file a lawsuit to sue based on that. Nell, our friend on YouTube, says, do you do consults to review packets? Probably. I don't love doing that. I would rather help someone prepare the case correctly than to fix someone else's mistakes. So I don't know if that sounds like something I would love to do. A lot of times people are like, I don't want to hire a lawyer. I just want you to review the thing that I did and tell me everything that's right and wrong and fix everything. And that's basically me doing the whole case, which is fine if you hire me, but no. So that's not going to work out great. I don't think most lawyers are going to be super excited about that. Here we have on YouTube, Bunanani Jat, who is an old friend, I believe, from Boston. It's great to see you on here. Muhammad Asim, any updates on the Pakistan Islamabad embassy? We have so many friends and clients from Pakistan, and we have filed so many lawsuits against the U.S. consulate in Islamabad. We have sued them over and over and over and over again. Nothing changes. They don't conduct interviews in a timely manner. They don't process cases in a timely manner. They, even in the face of lawsuits, they put their hands in their ear and they do nothing. And if you want to get your case approved in Islamabad, you have to fight them. You have to fight like hell. And you have to know that you're not going to get anywhere by sitting around and waiting. I hope everyone from Pakistan who's waiting in immigration hears this message. It's really, really frustrating. Here's a message from someone whose name I cannot pronounce at all because I don't even know what this is coming to us on YouTube. It says, how long does administrative processing take? And the DS 5565 type of visa for K1, I'm waiting 7 months since the interview. What do you advise me to do? It's a great question. I think it's the DS 5535, not to be pedantic, but I think that's what it's called. How long does administrative processing take? Well, one of the most difficult things about administrative processing is that you don't know how long it's going to take. It's a bottomless pit and you're just in free fall. You don't know where the bottom is. You don't know how long it's going to take. Is it going to take weeks? Is it going to take months? Is it going to take years? You just don't know. So that's one of the most frustrating things. 7 months is a really long period of time. K1 visas are exciting. You're ready to go and be with your loved one. You're ready to get married. You're going to have a new life in America and get a green card and a visa. And instead, you're stuck in administrative processing, and you go to Google and you start looking, oh, what's administrative processing? How long is it going to take? And maybe you come across some of my videos and go down that rabbit hole. It's tough. So the question is, what can you do about it? Well, you basically have two options. One is you can wait. Just take your hands and sit on them and keep waiting. And how long are you going to have to wait in this scenario? Well, you could wait 3 months or 6 months or 8 months or a year or 2 years. You could wait and wait and wait. And you could try to wait it out. The problem with waiting is that it doesn't work very well. And what happens is that most people at some point get so frustrated with waiting that there comes a point where they just get so mad they can't take it anymore. And they're like, damn it, I am going to sue them. And that's when we come in. We file lawsuits to challenge processing delays and get delayed cases unstuck. 7 months is when I would start thinking about filing a lawsuit. It depends on your personal situation. What would it mean to you to get your visa approved quickly and move on with your life? How valuable would that be to you and your loved ones? What would it mean if you keep waiting indefinitely? These are the questions that I ask people when they're thinking about getting our help. Here's a question from YouTube, Cape Tano. I had a mandamus lawsuit and the government filed a motion to dismiss. We have not taken any steps to enable us to complete the invitation in the event that it doesn't progress. Okay. I'm not sure I understand the second part of it. We have not taken any steps to enable us to complete the invitation in the event that it doesn't progress. I don't know what that would mean. What invitation? I'm not sure. Is it expected that the embassy will issue the visa within a period of time? She says IRC visa I-130 petition. Okay, but I still don't understand what this means about we have not taken any steps to complete the invitation in the event that it doesn't. I don't know what that means. But basically, when you file a mandamus lawsuit, you're suing the government, you're suing the consulate, you're suing USCIS, and the basis of the lawsuit is that the delay has been unreasonable. And what you hope to get out of the lawsuit is that they do their damn jobs. They process the paperwork, they issue the visa. And often that does happen, but sometimes it doesn't. And what happens sometimes is the government puts its foot down and says, we're not going to do anything. And they file a motion to dismiss. Now, a motion to dismiss does not mean that your lawsuit is going to be unsuccessful. It doesn't mean that you're going to get denied. It doesn't mean that your visa is going to be delayed further. It's just sort of something that you have to deal with in court. You have to file a response. You have to fight them. You have to go to hearings. And, even where we get motions to dismiss, we often get visas issued quite quickly. So I would say, you need to adopt the mindset that you're determined to get approved and you're going to fight them, and don't get discouraged. You can do this. You can reach your goal. Motions to dismiss are routine stuff for our office. We handle them all the time. We have seen literally they file the same motion in every case. It's word for word. It's a template. And we've gotten very good at responding to them because they do file them from time to time. Sometimes people say, oh, I don't want to file a lawsuit because we're going to get a motion to dismiss. Well, then you have to keep waiting. And how's that going to work? I'm not discouraged by motions to dismiss. I am happy when we don't get them, but I don't get upset when we do. Now he says, is it a problem if I get a lawyer? It won't look disgusting at the embassy. I wanted to ask you, how much can it cost for you or a company to become my lawyer in my case? Great question. So sometimes people say, won't it look bad if I have a lawyer? Won't it look like I'm guilty or I did something wrong if I have a lawyer? And that's absolutely false. Having an immigration lawyer is just something that people do to help them with the case. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person or that you just because you needed help. I've often hired lawyers for various things. I had a lawyer to help me give me advice on how to prepare my tax returns. Did that mean that I'm a bad person or something like that? No, absolutely not. I mean, I try to be a good person. I hired a lawyer to help me with my application when I applied to become a lawyer in the state of California because I found the application process complicated and I wanted someone with expertise to guide me. And it worked out really well. And I think the same logic applies to you. If you're serious about reaching your immigration goals, the logic of hiring a lawyer like me is that, we have expert advice. We have knowledge, experience, and expertise that is going to help you give you a better chance to reach your goals. This is not my first rodeo or my second rodeo. I've been doing this for more than 20 years, and I've seen every trick in the book, and I can help you and give you advice and so on. Now, as for the cost of our services, we have free consultations. So you can book a free consultation with my team, and you can tell us about your case. There's a link in the bio where you can do that. And based on how you answer, you can book an appointment with our team. And if our firm is a good fit for your case, we can give you a fee estimate and tell you about what we would charge. Now, sometimes people are like, okay, well, I need to know what the price is before we do that. But I don't really know anything about your case. It's hard for me to tell you whether we could even take your case, let alone how much we would charge. So we really need to do this. Enrique says, how long is I-765 through adjustment of status taking? He's our friend on TikTok. The answer is maybe 6 or 8 months, depending on what kind of case you have and how you apply. So hope that helps. I'm going to try to take questions from all the social media channels. I'm going to go back to I'm going to go back to Instagram now. Abdul Muzdidyar. Sir, what's the EB3 unskilled visa process and how much acceptance ratio? So one of the key ways that you can get a green card so that you can live and work in the United States is to get an employer to petition for you to bring you over here. And there are basically three categories of the immigration petition. Excuse me. I need more caffeine. Where can I get more caffeine? So EB3 is basically unskilled immigration cases, unskilled employment-based immigration cases. And they take a long time. They're going to take several years. But you can definitely get a green card through that process. And the question is, what is the acceptance ratio? So the likelihood that you can succeed with an EB3 petition depends on many variables, with your employer, with the job offer, with your background, and so on. And it's hard to say. Do you have a criminal, any criminal convictions? Have you, are you going to test positive for marijuana in your medical exam? There's all sorts of random things. Is your employer a real company, or is it your brother-in-law who has some fake business that operates out of a post office box? All these things come into play, and that would affect the ratio of likelihood. Now back to TikTok. Fresno Allah. If I don't want to apply for the I-601A here in the U.S., can I go back to my home country and apply there? Well, what you're asking about is a waiver process. A waiver for what we call unlawful presence. You've been in the U.S. without proper status. Maybe you entered the U.S. Without inspection. You snuck across the border or something like that. You didn't come in with a visa and a passport. But I wonder why you would want to apply for an I-601 in your home country when you can apply for an I-601A. That's the backwards. Amir Hussein Musavi, you're back. I answered your question at the beginning of the broadcast. Have you recently had a client with an H-1B visa who filed a lawsuit within 2 or 3 months after the interview and got their visa adjudicated? What would be the optimal timing for the lawsuit? I mean, that's a great question. We have gotten cases approved that are filed within 2 or 3 months of the interview. And I mean, it's difficult because the longer you wait, the better the lawsuit will be, the more unreasonable the delay will be seen. But the longer you wait, right? If you waited for another 3 years or 2 years, then you'd have a more unreasonable delay and a better chance of the lawsuit. But, who wants to do that? And then your second question, I've heard that the Department of State has recently changed its policy to dismissing almost all mandamus lawsuits, except those with significant delays. What are your thoughts on this? That's a great question. We do see writ of mandamus lawsuits with motions to dismiss, and we do see more of them. But anyone who files a mandamus lawsuit should have a significant delay. Now, 3 months of waiting and administrative processing could be an unreasonable delay. Look, I mean, I'm just imagining this. What if you're at risk of losing your job? I mean, that's not reasonable. What if they're not doing anything? What's your personal situation? Maybe you're living out of a suitcase because you're stuck and you can't go back to your home country. I want to know more about your situation beyond just the processing time. It says here, Angel Heart Production. I love that picture, by the way. Our friend on YouTube. We have so many good YouTube videos coming out. I've really put a lot of effort into my channel. I hope my followers on YouTube are liking the content. If you have questions, let me know. I'll make a video for you. Angel Heart, should I upload the proof of receipt online for the filing of a medical RFE for I-45. So when you send in your response to an RFE, a request for evidence from USCIS, on the top of the response, you should put a copy of the request for evidence. USCIS sends you a letter that says request for evidence, and it'll say, please send us a medical exam. That letter, you want to put that on the top. There's a barcode on there that they use to scan and track your case number. There's all sorts of information. There's your A number, your file number, your name. So put that on top. And usually it's on a colored piece of paper, a blue piece of paper. Put it on top of the blue piece of paper. That's what I would do if I were you. Let's go to some more questions. We'll go back to Instagram, see if there's any question there. Dana Kayla, can I file a lawsuit after 60 days for a delay of the J1 visa? That's kind of a similar question that Amir Hussein asked, which is, how long do you have to wait before you file it? I think 60 days is probably premature, and I would like to see someone wait 6 months or more. It's not because I would like to see them wait. I just think that for a lawsuit to be successful, I would want to see 6 months probably. I mean, again, we have to convince a skeptical judge in court that that the delay is unreasonable, and that may be hard to do if you've only waited 2 months. What would the Elware says? Not free of charge. It's difficult for illegal to get paper. I don't call people illegals. I don't call them that. They're just people who need immigration help. People who are undocumented. That doesn't make them better or worse than us. They're not any more or less deserving of our help. Dana Kayla says postdoc opportunity. Yeah, I mean, I think that might change my opinion. Dana Kayla, if you are at risk of losing your postdoc, and this is an amazing opportunity for you to conduct research, that's going to perhaps be a big boost to your career, and you're at risk of losing that. Yeah, maybe it would be a good time to file it after 2 months. We certainly have gotten cases approved where we filed after 2 months. I mean, the longer you wait, the more likely that the mandamus lawsuit will be successful. But the longer you wait, the more likely it is that you lose your postdoc. The PI or lab might say, well, forget it. We're just going to hire a U.S. citizen. So that's my concern. Questions. I'll go back to some of the questions that were submitted this week. Amir Syed Safu asked, can I renew my visa if I had a misdemeanor? The answer is maybe. It depends on what the misdemeanor is. If the misdemeanor is driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs, then I think that renewing a visa might be very difficult. If the misdemeanor is a speeding ticket, then that's different. So I guess I would have to know more about that. Here's a question, a good one from Jojo Me. Josh, do you see a steep increase in writ of mandamus with motions to dismiss that are lost? I can't believe 5 years is reasonable to U.S. attorneys, or verbiage like non-citizens have no right to live in this country. Let me tell you this. Immigration is not getting easier. It's not. It's getting harder. So if you're thinking about filing a writ of mandamus lawsuit and you have been waiting for a number of years or a long period of time, or if the delay in the processing of your immigration case is really having an impact on your life, then you should book a free strategy session with our team, and you should consider and see whether it would be reasonable. I mean, yeah, we see more recent motions to dismiss, but look, I'm here to fight. I'm here to fight to help people. I'm not here to take motions to dismiss and just, lose. I want to win the case. I want to see people reach their immigration goals. Let me tell you a story. We had a case for someone in San Diego. The government filed a motion to dismiss. We filed a response. The motion to dismiss was granted. We lost. Guess what happened 2 weeks after we lost the case? He got the visa issued after a long delay. So, is that a loss? Well, in court it is, yeah. But the guy got the visa, which is all we care about. So, again, you can book a strategy session with our team if you're curious. Um, Cape Tano said, the attorney told me that if no action is taken against the motion to dismiss, we will have a second chance after 4 months to threaten the U.S. attorney to reopen the lawsuit again. That's a very case-specific scenario. I don't know how that would work, but yeah, I mean, I hope you have a good lawyer, and I wish you all the best. Let me take a few other questions here. Here's one from Tim Floyd. Do you know if it's possible to apply for a work visa while waiting on a spouse visa that's in administrative processing? So if you are in administrative processing and you're trying to get a visa through your wife or your husband, the solution to that scenario is not to get a different visa. That usually doesn't work because it might take a year or more to get the visa lined up. And then at that point, you might end up in administrative processing again for the other visa. The solution that we found is very effective is filing a writ of mandamus lawsuit. So that's what I would consider instead of trying to file for a different visa. Mariska Collins, friend on YouTube, asks about the December 2023 visa bulletin and how that impacts people in F2A status. We see no meaningful impact, but I wanted to answer that question. What other questions do you have? I'm here to help. Let me know. Let me know, friends. Here's one on TikTok. What would the L wear? My name is Ethel Y. My name is Ethel. Why did you choose immigration law? Thinking of going into it. So when I graduated from law school, I got a job working at a corporate law firm in New York. And then I got another job at a corporate law firm in Boston. And I was doing corporate law, working on deals. And I was miserable and I didn't like the work very much. And they allowed me to do a pro bono case. And I worked on a pro bono case for asylum. And I helped someone from Sierra Leone get asylum. My first case was filed in 1999. And I'm still friends with my client from this day. And I found the experience working with him and helping him to be so gratifying and rewarding, to be in the service of someone, to help them. It was wonderful. And I also had some experiences in my life that inspired me. When I finished college, I lived in Taiwan and studied Chinese. I lived also in Shanghai and I studied Chinese. I worked as an English teacher in China. And I also, in college, I went to Spain and my junior year of college. And that sort of experience showed me that there's a bigger world. I myself was sort of an immigrant or a foreigner. And I've always been interested in travel and foreign languages and other cultures. And if to the extent that I am patriotic as an American, I think that one of the things that America that's great about America is that we're a nation of immigrants. It sounds a little bit corny, and there are a lot of people who don't believe that trash talk immigrants, Republicans, Donald Trump. But the truth is, all of us are from somewhere, except for Native Americans. And that's my answer. And I love working as an immigration lawyer. I'm inspired to do the work. I'm passionate about it. I love helping people. One of the greatest joys is calling someone and telling them that they got approved. That is amazing. Let's see. Amir Hussein Musavi bothering me with more questions. That's fine. What's the timeline of a writ of mandamus lawsuit? Okay. So it takes our office internally. We have a 2-week deadline for filing cases. Sometimes it's 3 or 4 weeks, but for most part, we get cases filed within 2 weeks of when we're hired. New clients in our office fill out a questionnaire, which we use to collect all the information. Once we file the case, we share with clients a copy of all the documents showing that the case was filed. At that point, you wait. 2 months after the case was filed, you're going to get either an extension or a motion to dismiss. That's just the way it is. Sometimes we get cases approved in less than 2 months, but most people get an extension or a motion to dismiss. Now, it's in month 3 and 4 that we see results. So after 60 days, in the 60 to 90 or 60 to 120 day mark, most cases are approved during that period of time. So we have gotten cases approved in 7 days or 10 days, things like that. But most people, I expect 3 to 4 months. Now, whenever I talk about these processing times and when cases get approved, I always point out that anytime you hire a lawyer, whether it's me or anyone else, the outcome is not guaranteed. You might file a case and end up getting your visa denied, or it could take longer than you expect or something like that. I'm just pointing that out. Hope that helps.